Congratulations, you made it through the first month of being a father, and now you're about to step into your second month. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through some of the things that you can expect during the second month of your baby's life, and some of the things that you can do to make sure that you're adjusting your kid to the world as soon as possible. Before I get into the episode, I just want to remind you that if you get value, to please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. What are your concerns about month 2? Another thing that I would strongly recommend if you're interested in learning more is to pick up some resources. I got a ton of value out of the Mayo Clinic's guide to the first year. Check the comments below for a link, and I would definitely recommend checking out this book as well. With all that being said, let's get right into the guide to the second month of your baby's life. A lot has happened over the past month, and you're probably starting to get into a rhythm. So that's one of the best parts about the first month, is getting into a rhythm, understanding what it's going to be like having a baby in your life. So by month 2, you've already got some processes down, some rhythm down. The second month has a lot of ups and downs. They're starting to recognize things, they're starting to see you, smile perhaps. But on the downside, you're going to start to see a lot of crying and, well, hearing a lot of crying. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about your baby's appearance. Gradually, over the course of the next few months, you're going to start to see your child evolve into what I like to call is a tiny human being. So in month 2, you're going to start to see their cheeks and face get fuller. They're still growing very rapidly. They're going to start to fill out their entire body, their legs, their arms. Everything is going to start to chunk out, which is cool to see. They're starting to build some resilience. Another thing that's going to start normalizing is their skin tone and skin color. Acne, little milia bumps, jaundice, all these things are going to start normalizing down to what would be perceived as a normal skin tone. Now, again, this is something you can chat with your pediatrician about if you're not seeing that result, but over the course, particularly of the next 6 weeks or so, it's going to start to normalize. Your baby's head is still going to be larger in proportion to the rest of their body, but both the head and the body are going to be growing at about ½ an inch per month in circumference or in length. You're also going to notice in month 2 that your child's neck strength is getting, well, stronger. They're going to start to hold their head up straight for long periods of time. When you're doing tummy time, they're going to lift their head up and perhaps look around. Now, look, it's still very fragile, and that's probably one of the most important things for you to watch out for is that neck support. However, it's going to be neat when you hold your baby up right that they're going to be able to kind of keep their head upright for a few seconds and look around. The neck is getting stronger. You'll notice it, but don't undervalue your role as a support system. Now, look. Like I said, they're getting stronger, and your baby's probably not going to be able to roll over quite yet, but you should never leave them unattended, especially on an elevated table, like a changing table or a bed, because they're getting to the point where they can move their arms and their legs a little bit more controlled and just trying to feel out their environment. And you definitely do not want to risk a rollover, because it is possible. When you're going into month 2 particularly, it is very possible that they could roll over, even perhaps by accident. So you never want to leave them unattended in a position that could potentially be, well, devastating. Make sure that your kid is secured or being watched at all times. Furthermore, during month 1, you'll notice that there's a lot of reflexes going on. Most of their movement is totally reflexive. Here in month 2, they're starting to understand the way that their body works a little better, and so they're going to start moving in a way that's more calculated, whether it's stretching or reaching. You'll even notice this in their eyesight as they're looking around. They're tracking objects more carefully. Perhaps when you walk into the room, they're really going to look at you. And that's one of the really cool things I think about being a father, is walking into the room and making eye contact with your little child. It's really an amazing experience. To expand upon this amazing experience is smiling. This is about the point in time where your baby is going to start recognizing you and smiling. And it's really special when your baby smiles for the first time. It's just a really awesome experience. Now, one of the things that you can do to reinforce that is when they smile at you, smile back, get excited, be like, oh man, this is really cool. And they will vibe off that. Your baby will actually realize that you're excited about them being excited, and they'll vibe off that. And this is one of the ways that you can first start interperson communication with your child. Up until this point, all the communication has been one-sided. You communicating with them and then them crying relentlessly. Right? But now we're getting to the stage where they're going to start trying to communicate with you, whether it's with coos or other various noises. One of the things that I really think it's important for you to understand is that babies cry. And during month 2 in particular, there's going to be a regression. You may have gotten a couple nights where you got to sleep, they slept for 6 hours. Well, my wife likes to call this particular month the witching hour month, because what's going to happen basically every evening is your kid is going to cry, and it can be really frustrating as a parent not being able to stop the crying, not being able to give them what they need to stop crying, because the reality is babies cry. So during the next month or two, just realize that they're going to cry. You want to do your best. If you're feeling overwhelmed, try to team up with your partner or a grandparent to try to take some time to get away, because it will drive you literally insane. So just realize that this is a short period of their life where the crying is going to be incessant. Typically happens a lot during the 2nd and 3rd month. So be aware of that, be ready for that, and just take it with a grain of salt. They're not crying because they're upset at you. They're not crying because they want to get after you. They're crying because babies just cry, plain and simple. There's a lot of theories behind why this occurs. Just realize that as long as you're keeping them clean, keeping them comfortable, changing their diaper, keeping them fed, that's about all you can do. If they're going to cry 3, 4, 5 hours on top of that, I hate to say it, it comes with the territory. Do your best, hold them. One of the things that I do that has been very successful is getting my kids out of the house. Maybe taking my child outside on a patio or outside, letting them look around, getting an experience for the environment around them. This can really help calm them down. Also, try keeping them elevated. So not necessarily in a cradled position on their back, but sitting upright and looking out. Try elevating your child with his or her head up and sitting up straight. This will help them build their neck muscles, but also a lot of times calm them down. We've talked a lot about the things that your child is going to be experiencing and you will be experiencing. I really want to focus in on what are some things that you can do to help your child be the most well-adjusted and most prepared for life on this planet. So there's a few different games and things that you can do to encourage your child's learning. First game I want to talk about is hide and seek. Your kid actually doesn't realize that when something leaves their sight of vision, that it's still there. As far as they're concerned, it ceases to exist. So playing hide and seek is a really good way to get some smiles and some chuckles out of your kid. It's a really good way to interact. Hide and seek. If you haven't already started, get some tummy time in. Tummy time, quite simply, is putting them on their belly, laying them on a flat surface, preferably on the ground, and letting them kind of stretch out, feel their surroundings, and move their head around, move their neck around. Tummy time is a really positive thing. If they're not lifting their head up completely by themselves, you want to give them time on each side of their head to make sure that everything is growing symmetrically. I would also recommend reading them books, reading them stories. Go to your local library, pick out some books with some very colorful images. Your kids are now starting to see colors. The world is not all black and white and grayed out. They're going to start seeing colors. You definitely want to give them the experience of color by reading them colorful books with not super complicated images, but very high contrast, highly colorful images. Make sure that you're reading to them. Kids are going to be processing words like a sponge right now. So the more you speak to them, the better adapted they're going to be to your language. And I cannot recommend this enough. Try to stay consistent as well. Every night, perhaps read them a story. Every morning, read them a story. Try to get into some routines early and often so that they are well adjusted. During the course of these activities, if your child is consistently looking away, closing their eyes, getting fussy, this might mean that they're overstimulated. So take a step back, slow it down. Don't push them too hard, too fast, too early. You want to give them plenty of experience and plenty of stimuli, but don't overstimulate them, because that's just going to lead to frustration on their end and on your end. I hope you got a ton of value out of today's episode. I'm really passionate about giving you the tools to be the best father you can be. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on your experiences through fatherhood. If you're watching a video like this, I know that you are on your way to being an awesome dad. This has been month 2 of our 12-month look into your baby's first year. So if you haven't already, check out the other episodes and keep preparing yourself to be an awesome dad. My name is Mark Savant. This has been Active Dad. Have an awesome day. Peace.